Welcome. I'm Victoria Schneps, and I'm delighted to be with you on election night. My son Josh and I are co-publishers of the Queen's Courier, the Bayside Times Ledger Group. We also publish Noticia and Caribbean Life, and you might catch us on QNS.com or Queen's Post in every neighborhood. But I have fun also on my podcast with Power Women and the A-listers. Tonight, though, we are focused on the people who will have an impact on your lives because they are going to be the ones you elect tonight. So with no further ado, let me introduce my wonderful guests. Welcome. I'm so delighted to have Mike LiPetri with us, who is running for Congress. And I'm happy to know that as the clock ticks towards the closing of, it's like the closing of the gates, the closing of the voting, that he is here to share with us his his most important concerns that he's heard from the voters. And what are you going to do about it?
Thank you so much, Vicki. I'm Mike LiPetri. I'm an attorney, former New York State Assemblyman, running to be the People's United States Congressman in District 3 in Queens, which includes Whitestone, Douglaston, Bayside, Bay Terrace, Little Neck, Queens Village, making sure that we restore common sense, passing the torch from the age of the career politician to the next generation common sense Republican. I support women's rights and parental rights. I'm focused on creating safe, secure, and affordable communities, stopping the migrant problem and securing our borders, standing 100% with Israel, and making sure that more money go into our pockets rather than the government's. That's what I'm looking to do, and the people need a voice that's about us. I don't come from a political family. It's about making a difference. That's why I got involved, and that's why I've been asking the people's vote for the past 8.5 months. I'm hoping all your viewers who are watching will vote Republican Mike LiPetri for United States Congress.
Well, you know, you've really hit every button that has to be hit. And when you've gone out into the communities, is there one or two issues that seem to resonate and get people's blood pressure up? I mean, how are you finding you peeled off so many issues that are so powerful?
Absolutely. I mean, you talk to the Jewish community, and they want to make sure that I stand with Israel. And when my opponent asked to be an honorary member of the squad, that's a problem for them. But I went to the World Summit for Counterterrorism in Israel. I heard from the heads of the IDF and the Mossad of what we need to do for the total destruction of Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and the Terror Republic of Iran. And then it's also about making sure that the migrant issue is getting quashed, because the border crisis isn't just 2,000 miles away anymore. It's right here at home with Creedmoor. And in this district, you're going to have Mike LiPetri that supports mass deportation. You're going to have Mike LiPetri that's focused on legal merit-based immigration. And you got Mike LiPetri who's going to end the asylum loopholes, stop catch and release, and make sure we're focused on law-abiding citizens first instead of criminals.
Well, when you're in Congress, how can you work with the other folks to get something done? I think this is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Why is there such animosity that stops things from getting done?
Yeah. Well, my opponent has been a career politician in government for 30 years and clearly is not someone that is able to make that change. But beauty is as a former New York State Assemblyman, I already did it in the state legislature. I worked with both sides of the aisle. When I first ran for New York State Assembly, I said extremism on either side cannot be tolerated. And that was 6 years ago. And now, as your United States Congressman, the ladies and gentlemen watching this, they're going to rest assured knowing Mike LiPetri is ready to do what needs to be done. If it helps us, I'm in. If it hurts us, I'm out. I don't care if it's a Republican, Democrat, or independent issue. That's what matters to me, because the people are voting for Mike LiPetri to be our voice together. This is our opportunity to pass the torch. This is our opportunity to make sure we have someone with pure heart. My opponent left this seat already to run for governor. He doesn't want to be here. His heart's not in it. But I left my state assembly seat to run for Congress. My heart's all in this. And I'm asking the people, if you feel as I feel and you believe that America can be brighter, can be greater, can be better, then I'm asking you, why don't you change it up now and have the right guy in there that's going to make that difference, and voting Republican Mike LiPetri for United States Congress.
Well, I love your passion, and I think that's what our country is about, the passion of the people. And you certainly are showing us that. And I've been delighted to have you with us today. So thank you, Mike LiPetri, who is running for the United States Congress in our beautiful borough of Queens. Tell us again the borough parts that you are going to be representing if you are elected.
If you live in Whitestone, Douglaston Manor, Bayside, Bay Terrace, Little Neck, Queens Village, go down ballot in the Republican line. Vote row B for Republican Mike LiPetri for United States Congress.
Well said. Well said. Happy to have had this moment to share with you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Vicky.
I am delighted to welcome dear friend Debbie Markell. And I'm so proud of you that you were recently chosen the Assembly District Leader for District 26. But for those of us who don't know who and what is District 26, would you please let us know, Deb?
Sure. Thank you, Vicky, for having me on. It's very exciting, and it's exciting time in America, and it's exciting time in the district. Assembly District 26 services Northeast Queens. It's Douglaston, Little Neck, Bayside, and Flora Park. So it's an exciting time. I want to thank Carol Gresser for her service to the community. It is the Jefferson Democratic Club that I am serving, and I was elected to replace Carol to lead our district forward and continue the good work and even do more for our district and put it on the map.
So I know that Flora Park is really the North Shore Towers. Is that correct? And where
Yes,
you
it
live,
is.
and we're proud to have the North Shore Towers Courier. But tell me a bit what you're hearing. You're out on the streets. I know I try to invite you for dinner and you're too busy. You're busy going out and meeting and shaking hands. Tell me what you're hearing on the street are the biggest issues facing people today.
Well, we have a big congressional race, as everybody knows. Tom Suozzi is running for Congress. The community loves Tom because he has the right message. And the message is common sense prevails. And a lot of people on the street want common sense. They want to know that their benefits are going to be protected and they're going to be safe in the district. And they want to know that the women's right to choose is very big on everybody's mind this year. And I think that becomes the conversation of what kind of common sense prevails. We did have, unfortunately, someone that represented our district for a short time who really was not appropriate for the district and for people. So when Tom came back and took his seat, and everybody was very excited to see that because it brings common sense back to Queens and he has a big district that goes through Nassau and Suffolk. So it's very happy in the Queens side that we bring the representation back to being respectful.
Well, I know you went through the hell of George Santos, so we're not,
Yes.
That's a chapter in our political history that we're all sad about.
Right.
And tell me what you're hearing are some of the issues that makes people's blood boil and makes people smile.
Well, Medicare certainly at the towers is something that everybody wants to protect. Their benefits, their health care, that's very important. And people want to protect that and don't want to have a conversation of something they've earned their whole life and they have the whole life. And they don't want anything to happen because that will change their quality of life. And we do want to make sure that everyone keeps their benefits. And women are concerned about their children and their grandchildren, and the situation that they want to keep their medical, and a woman's right to choose is very important.
Well, I think that has become what do we call this? The torch that people are carrying to protect a woman's rights. And I think that seems to be something that will galvanize, I hope, people to come to the polls and vote. We're at the touchstone of the last minutes before the polls close, as we're on TV now. And I wondered also about, is there fractiousness? I feel so badly that people can't be feeling differently on subjects without being angry. What did you see out there?
Oh, people are very angry in all directions. And it's very difficult to talk about the top of the ticket. You can't have a dinner conversation and bring up politics because it's very polarizing this year. All people do talk about that's important is common sense. And you want to make sure that we protect our right and the right that people before us have fought for, to make sure that our children are safe and secure. And I think that's what's on everybody's mind. They want to worry about their families and the legacy they're going to leave for their families.
This is Debbie Markell with me, and I am so proud that you have become the Assembly District Leader for 26 up in Northeast Queens. So carry on.
We will, and may tonight make everybody proud, whoever wins.
Thank you. Thanks for
Thank
being
you, Vicki.
Till next time. Welcome, Tom Zimich. Tom, you are running for Congress, and I'm so happy to meet you for the first time, but I'm sure you've been active in the community to take this plunge into the congressional race. Tell me what district you're representing or hope to represent.
District 6 in Queens. It's one of the three actual districts in Queens. Yes, it's right in the center of Queens.
So what neighborhoods would you say are in that world that you are in that district? Because, you know, nobody knows district numbers. They know neighborhoods. We're a neighborhood-driven communities.
Well, my district, it goes all the way from Eastern Queens and Bayside down to Fresh Meadows, into Kew Gardens, over to a little bit of Richmond Hill, and into Forest Hills. And it used to be Glendale, but no more. Now it's just Middle Village. But then it shoots up over into Maspeth and Woodside, a little bit of Sunnyside, Jackson Heights, Corona, Elmhurst, basically all the middle of Queens.
Wow, you know, that is quite a chunk of our wonderful borough. And asking me, you know, to interview you because you're running for Congress says to myself, what is your mission? What made you decide to invest your money, your time, your effort to win that seat?
Well, right now, I'm retired. And for 40 years or so that I was in the Bricklayers Union, you know, I worked and I built a lot of schools, the School Construction Authority. And now that I'm retired, you know, I kind of got a little bit taken aback about the way the country was turning. And sitting back and watching TV every night, I decided that, you know, maybe we should see if we can help and do something about it, being that I am retired and have a lot of time on my hands at the time. So 4 years ago, we decided that since we took a look at some of the races in Queens, with being that it's all Democrats, nobody really ran against Grace Meng for like 4 or 5 elections. You know, nobody significantly did any kind of damage in a way, you know, to run against anyone in the county. So we decided to see what we could do. And like I said, since the first time that we ran, we got 37%, which is a pretty big chunk considering that Queens is 7-1 Democrat. You know, you know, by the numbers, I'm legally only supposed to get about 16-17%.
So what were the issues that you mentioned drove you to want to run? And what is it that you're hearing on the street people are concerned about?
Well, at this point in time, what the first thing, to be honest with you, the first thing that grabbed my attention was the Agenda 21 from the United Nations about confiscating the firearms in America. And they were trying to implement that. I mean, it's changed now to Agenda 30, apparently, because they didn't meet their goal. But that was it, the Second Amendment rights of the citizens of the United States. That was the first real issue that caught my attention. And then after that, there are other issues. And now, right now, there's, you know, a couple issues that are really hurting everybody is the inflation, price of goods, you know, transportation-wise, the cost of living that's going up, immigration, what's happening with the illegals here, and like I said, the crime is out of control.
So what, you know, it's good to say what issues you're hearing. What action would you take to be able to correct some of these things that have come to your attention and that are, you know, things that you want to bring to people's attention, you want to correct?
Well, at this point in time, I would be 1 vote out of 435 down in Washington. But we would try to, you know, make a lot of influence down there to the point where, because our borough, Queens, is the world's borough. We have 197 different nationalities represented, 157 different languages, and everyone I meet out here, we all get along. We in Queens was the only borough when you heard all about the anti-Semitism or the anti-Asian hate thing. Queens is the only borough that nothing ever happened there.
So I'm so happy to introduce to everybody Thomas Zmich, who is running for Congress. Good luck to you.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. I am delighted to introduce an old friend, a dear friend, our City Councilwoman, Joanne Ariola. Welcome, Joanne.
Wonderful to be here. Thank you.
So I know that you have been serving in the City Council. In fact, are you the Republican leader now?
So I am not the minority leader, but I am the chair of Fire and Emergency Management, the only Republican to chair a committee in the City Council.
I'm so proud of you. Tell me about the district you serve. What does it encompass? What neighborhoods?
It's the 32nd Council District, and it encompasses from Central to Western Rockaway on the peninsula, up and into Broad Channel, Howard Beach, a portion of Ozone Park, both on the west side and on the east side of Cross Bay Boulevard, up and into Woodhaven. I represent all of Woodhaven. I have all of Forest Park, and then I have all of Eastern Glendale. It is a very large district. It's shaped like the boot of Italy. So I think it's appropriate. But it is a wonderful district, and I'm so proud to support it and to be the representative for it.
So, you know, we have the Ridgewood Times that represents Bathurst and Glendale and Ridgewood and the Middle Village, and their districts have been slashed in different parts, right? So it's interesting. The City Council is, only a piece of my Ridgewood Times. But I know we have media all over Queens that cover the district. And what are you hearing, Joanne? You're out in the street, you're out on the, stump trying to elect Republicans. Tell me what issues you're hearing are most important to people on the street.
But we have been out on the stump, and what we're hearing is very much the same as what we heard back in 21 and in 23 when I ran for this seat, which is public safety, education, quality of life. We're starting to see the negative impact that the influx of the migrant crisis has had on our city. We're starting to see the impact of the defund the police that has happened to our city, the bail reform, the criminal justice reform laws that are disastrous. We're seeing the effect of raising the age, because now we have violent criminals who are underage and unable to be prosecuted. So we're seeing a real reduction in the quality of life, and people have just had enough. And that's what they're telling us. They're ready for a change.
Well, this quality of life issue is really a state issue. And how can we help them, make this change back to what it was? I mean, it just happened within the last, decade that they changed the rules and the crime has so increased because of it?
It has increased, but when you have one party rule in the gubernatorial mansion, in the assembly, in the Senate, then they can write their own bills, they pass them, and we're the ones that are suffering for it. So what we're looking to do is close the gap of the supermajority in the assembly and get more senators elected, so that more common sense senators and assembly members to really kind of close the gap. We may not be able to turn into the majority, but we certainly can lessen the supermajority in both houses. Because when there's one party rule, there's no check and balance. And once party rule came into power, that's when all these negative changes were made. Yes, they went back and tried to fix it, but they did not go far enough with fixing it. And we are reaping all the negative effects of it. You can't go into a store doesn't have shelves that are either empty, or you have to ring a bell to get your deodorant. The small business owners are suffering with shoplifting. Everybody is committing crimes, and none of them are cash eligible. So they're just coming out with either a desk appearance ticket, or if it's a violent crime and it's a minor, who are now being utilized by gang members and recruited to do these violent crimes, because they know they'll just wind up in family court. The Senate, the Assembly, and our governor really has to wake up to see that we have to change our sanctuary state designation, which Governor Hochul can do with one swipe of the pen. And the Senate and the Assembly have to start to fight against the leadership, which is so far left. But we don't have fighters. We have people who go along to get along. And that's what I'm fighting for. People to be elected that will not be a rubber stamp.
Joanne Ariola, thank you for being with us, City Councilwoman in a very special district down in Howard Beach in Western Queens. Thank you for being
Thank you,
with us.
Vicky. Thank you for all the wonderful coverage and thank you for everything you do for this borough. God bless.
Thank you. Bye. Welcome. I am so delighted to speak to an old friend, Grace Mang, our Congresswoman here in Queens, representing the district for many years. Grace, welcome.
Thanks so much. I'm glad to be back.
So let me ask you, how many years have you served in the Congress, since you've been elected to the district?
Well, I was elected in 2012, so this will be my 12th year in Congress.
Wow. Well, that's a journey of its own kind. Grace, tell us in what district, what neighborhoods you serve in.
So I'm proud to represent parts of Queens in Washington. It's the 6th district, and it includes neighborhoods like Bayside, Flushing, Forest Hills, Rego Park, Middle Village, Maspeth, all the way to parts of Jackson Heights and Woodside.
Ah, that is a diverse community. We have a lot of media in those neighborhoods, from the English to the Caribbean to the Richmond Dons. But tell me, Grace, you're out there a lot. I know you're so hardworking. What is it you're hearing on the street are the people's biggest concerns?
Well, this is a really exciting time right now. I know that news of the presidential election has kind of dominated the airwaves, but for many Queens people, there are still just day-to-day quality of life issues that are first and foremost on their minds. Cost of living is something that people consistently talk about. We've been trying to work in Congress everything from reducing the price of insulin to $35, which is something that both Republicans and Democrats have been talking about literally since I got into Congress, and we finally got it done. On a local level, I've secured money to start a diaper bank. I mean, the most basic of needs for vulnerable folks in our community. And then, public safety is a big issue. We have been trying to work closely with community-based law enforcement, to the health department, to make sure there's an increase in mental health services for people in our community, and just strengthening gun violence legislation, violence prevention programs, including programs to help our youth. So lots of day-to-day quality of life issues.
That's kind of interesting because of the fact that, when it comes down to it, it's an everyday world we live in, and we want to know how we're affected. So from a legislative perspective, are there other things that you hope can be passing if you get elected that would correct some of these things or foster the answers to these problems, such as, which is my nut, is gun control? I just don't get it, how that has not passed.
Yeah, well, we as House Democrats, we have passed the legislation. When we had passed it, we couldn't get it through the Senate, but obviously we will keep trying. Sometimes legislation gets passed really quickly, and sometimes legislation gets passed, it takes a long time. So we will continue to work hard and push the legislation. America, is one of the developed countries that that suffers from disproportionately high amount of gun violence. We're growing up now where our kids in schools, they have to practice these lockdowns, which is something that we never had to do when we were kids. And so we're still going to continue to work on that. We did pass bipartisan safer communities legislation, which is, more restrictions on guns that are being sold in between states, more restrictions on people under the age of 21 who are buying guns, and of course, funding for organizations that help to combat violence right within our own community. So that's something that we'll still continue to work on.
Well, I think, that is a key. Something as simple as quality of life is a big issue in this campaign, and we are coming close to the election and coming close to the actual closing of the gates of the vote. And hopefully we have a lot of people locally who are voting. And I want to thank Grace Mang, who is our congresswoman up in the eastern and western part of our borough. Thank you for all you do, Grace.
Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. Bye now. I am delighted to welcome Congressman Tom Suozzi, who is a good friend and is a good friend to the community. Welcome, Tom.
Vicky, thanks so much for having me on.
So let's share with everybody the district that you have been serving in and fighting to keep.
I've got the northeast portion of Queens, which is Whitestone and Bay Terrace and a little bit of Bayside and Douglaston and Little Neck and North Shore Towers and Glen Oaks and Floral Park and Belrose. Then I have all along the North Shore of Nassau County, and then I go out a little bit out into Suffolk County in parts of Huntington.
Wow, that's a big footprint to have. But I know you're out there stumping, and I'm wondering, can you share with us what are the issues that people are sort of pulling your, and saying, you got to hear me out on this?
You know, I think it's pretty much similar to what's going on throughout the country. People are very concerned about the southern border. That's one of my main priorities, is to secure the southern border. I've been working across party lines to do that. Number two is to bring the state and local tax deduction back. That's been a real body blow to New Yorkers, especially those in Northeast Queens and north of Nassau and Suffolk. I want to bring money back to the district. There's lots of money that comes out of Washington, D.C. You've got to know how government works and fight to bring that money back to the district. I've been very successful at that, bringing money back to Queens and Nassau and even parts of Suffolk. And I want to try and work to heal the partisan divide. That's my big focus. People know me. I'm against extremism. I focus on common sense, and I try and get people to work across party lines to actually solve problems. Politics, everybody's sick and tired of the finger pointing and the attacking and the insults. They want us to work together to get things done, and that's what I'm all about.
Well, that's such, as you say, common sense. And I hope with this election, maybe that will come to prevail. But I'm very interested in what you said personally, having a home myself, of the deduction. This was something that was onerous to people not to be able to deduct your mortgages. What do you see as the plan here?
Well, they can't deduct their state and local tax deduction and some of their mortgage expenses. And it used to be for 100 years in the United States of America that when they set up the federal tax code, they said, okay, when you pay taxes for your local government, like your school taxes, which is the big hit for many of us out on Long Island at least, or your income taxes that you pay to New York City or to New York State, when you pay those taxes, you should have them deducted from your income. So when you pay your federal taxes, you don't have to pay taxes on the taxes you've already paid. So that was in place for 100 years. And in 2017, in order to generate some money for the federal government to do tax cuts for really the super wealthy, really, and corporations, they got rid of the state and local tax deduction and capped it at only $10,000. And $10,000 doesn't cover you if you live in Northeast Queens or the North Shore of Nassau or out in Suffolk. So I've been fighting for years, since 2017, when President Trump and the Republicans put that in place, to say, listen, this is devastating us here in New York. We've got to get the state and local tax deduction back. And I passed it 3 times through the House, despite enormous opposition from most of the Republicans. I had some Republicans work with me, but most Republicans opposed me. And some of the far left Democrats opposed me. So I built a bipartisan coalition across the country, Democrats and Republicans. I brought in mayors and counties and governors. I brought in the teachers and the firefighters, and I built in the realtors, and I built this national coalition. I passed it through the House 3 times, despite enormous opposition, but we couldn't get it done in the Senate. I think I figured out how to do the secret sauce and build that coalition in the Senate so that next year in 2025, when that cap at $10,000 expires, along with a bunch of other tax cuts expire, I can get the state and local tax deduction back for New Yorkers that have been hurt so badly.
I love your spirit. I love your spirit, and I love your energy. And hopefully, with that election being resolved tonight, hopefully we can get back to that civility to get things done. Thank you, Congressman Tom Suozzi.
Thank you. All the best to you. Thanks so much.
Thank you for joining me tonight, as we have heard from so many special people who want to lead us and our positions in government. And thank you to QPTV for making it possible for me to be with you tonight. This is Victoria Schnepp saying bye until next time.